Good afternoon. Has everybody had a good conference so far? I really appreciate you coming and listening to my talk today. There's so many great speakers here. I really hope that as you go home, you're like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And I'm excited to talk a little bit today about what AWS is doing, not just for our customers, but for all customers or all adopters across the industry. Let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Matt Stainer. Again, obviously, work at AWS. I am actually based out of Indiana, and I lead a team of security specialists for what we call AWS Industries, and I have the privilege of helping about 250 of our most complex, largest global customers try to drive their business outcomes with security solutions. And beyond the day job, I'm a private pilot. I would love to be in the sky 24/7 if I could, but this is a nice place to be with you all here in Philadelphia. All right, so today, just to tell you a little bit about where we're going to go, I'm going to talk a little bit about our top priority. You're at a security conference. I bet you can guess where I'm going to go with that. What is the challenge when we think about AI security and AI enablement? What are we really thinking about, and what are we trying to solve for and work backwards on? Next is, what is CoSAI? Why does it exist? When did it come about? What is its purpose? And why should you care? And then finally, what is Amazon doing? And notice I say Amazon here. I'm not saying just AWS. This is a pan-Amazon concept that both AWS and Amazon are bringing to industry. And finally, this is a coalition. So it's not just us. What can you do? What can you do both on the consumption side of it and the contribution side of it? So once upon a time, we invented the automobile. And there was a famous quote around how we're going to put the horse and buggy industry out of business, and that's not a good thing. Well, no, I don't know that AI and ML is putting anybody or anything out of business, but it is transforming the way we think about how we enable business, and another tool in the toolbox. And when the automobile was invented, it took about 50 years before seatbelts weren't something that were even available in a consumer version of an automobile. And even then, you had to pay for them, right? And then Volvo in 1959 patented the three-point seatbelt. And what did they do? Well, they could have thought about that as a differentiator. Well, our cars are more safe. We're going to keep that patent. And as we keep that patent, people are going to want to buy our cars. But they didn't do that. They shared that with the industry. And quickly, in the 60s, Wisconsin became the first state to mandate seatbelts. But it wasn't still until the late 80s when the rest of kind of the states started to say, maybe we should have seatbelt laws. It wasn't until the late 90s till most states had seatbelt laws, or said maybe even the rear seats should have seatbelts, right? And now, probably most of us, I hope most of us, don't even think about it. We just put our seatbelt on. We get in, we drive, we feel safer, we feel more secure. Millions of people's lives have been saved. Very important. So as we think about this new frontier, AI, ML not being new, but generative AI being kind of the democratization that has caused an explosion, we want to not wait 50 years to invent seatbelts. We also don't want to just think about, how does AWS invent a seatbelt? How does a provider X or model provider Y create seatbelts? We're thinking about this holistically. We're thinking about this as an enabler so that everybody can safely and securely deploy AI out of the box by design. So, what are some of the trends? How many people here are already deploying AI, generative or otherwise, in production? Okay. How many of you find that to be challenging from a security, compliance, governance, risk perspective? Pretty much the same number of hands that went up in the first one were the same number of hands that went up in the second one. And these are themes that we're seeing from our customers. Analysts are also hearing from across the industry. And this is something that we feel compelled to solve for, proactively solve for, work backwards from our customers in. And we are doing that. And we will always think of that as our main motivation. Anytime we launch a product, if we can't do it securely, it doesn't go to market. That's bar none, just full stop. So you can see here, Matt Garman, Andy, all of our leaders across the era of since AWS existence have said security is our top priority, and it will always be our top priority. So we want to think about that again, not just what are we doing for our customers, but what are we doing to drive the industry forward in a secure manner while enabling people to move fast and agile and securely. So last year in June, the launch of CoSAI, which is the Coalition for Secure AI, was founded, and it consists of a variety of folks across both model providers, tech field, academia, and beyond to figure out how do we answer the open-ended questions, right? The royal we. And the impact that we're trying to make is to be prescriptive, not just be academic. I get, again, the privilege of talking to customers every single day, and they don't want to hear, some research paper answer. They want to know, what can I actually do at my desk today, now? And if I can't do it today, now, tell me as soon as, when can I do it? And what do I do either tactically or strategically to work backwards decisions? And that's ultimately what CoSAI is trying to help produce, is general guidance that informs you as a customer, informs us as a provider, informs model providers as they build and train models. It informs potentially regulators and governments and other entities across the globe of what does it mean to build and deploy secure AI. And we want to do that collectively and openly and transparently. So as you can see, I call this kind of the NASCAR slide, right? You got all the logos of a variety of folks that are members of this. This slide probably, by the time I was editing it the other day, is probably already outdated. That's how much interest CoSAI has kind of gotten in terms of members that grow. Also working on efforts with other related kind of efforts. If you're familiar with OWASP and the LLM, top 10 for LLMs, similar kind of concept, and they're trying to now become a member of CoSAI and correlate what they're trying to drive, how that augments and complements what CoSAI is trying to drive. So very open and inclusive. So that's who and what, but let's talk a little bit about the why. So kind of similar to what we saw with those data points, right? There's fragmented guidelines. There's over 1,600 kind of traced efforts that are creating frameworks or governance models or regulations or laws even that can go from large entities like the EU to individual countries to states to even municipalities. So that fragmented guideline, lack of standardized approach causes confusion or delay and friction. So what we want to do, again, is bring together diverse stakeholders across the globe, across industries to say what are the common themes, also maybe what are the nuanced themes that might impact specific industries or specific geographies, and come together to provide that prescriptive guidance. So if we have that puzzle pieces scattered across the table, we want to take those puzzle pieces collectively as a group and say, what does this puzzle look like? And that's what we're ultimately trying to do. So provide those best practices, tools, methodologies for secure AI development and deployment, covering all aspects of building, integrating, deploying, and operating AI systems to mitigate AI-specific security risk. Okay, great. I've talked about the mission, talked about the vision. Makes sense, right? I mean, pretty self-explanatory, but it's important that we are very explicit and intentional with doing these things. Easier said than done, right? All right, so I read that. All right, so how are we doing that? We're doing that through 4 primary work streams right now. The software supply chain security for AI systems is work stream 1. This is obviously something that when we're talking with our customers, they really want to think about how models are what's the corpus of data that's formulating a model. Tell me a little bit about these open source models versus these maybe models provided by vendors. What are the distinct challenges, legal risks, security, safety that I need to take into consideration there. And again, a lot of the work that's coming into this work stream is not just going to help potentially you as someone deploying or selecting these models and what you need to think about. It absolutely will. But it will also help inform how these models are delivered and the expectations that these models should be built against. Workstream 2 is preparing defenders for a changing cybersecurity landscape. This is one we've been spending a lot of time on and helping contribute to because this is something that is kind of near and dear to our hearts, which is giving people the answers or a toolbox full of different tools that says, under these circumstances, here's what best practice looks like. What do you need to think about? So this is helping provide framework. So if we think about all of that disparate discussion points, frameworks, et cetera, thing that's going out there, where do you start? Like, what really matters to you and why? What's the difference between this framework and that framework? And which one should I adopt? Or should I do a hybrid? Or I work for an organization where I want to create my own framework. Well, maybe that's okay. And if you do, I would caution probably not the place to start. But at least if you know why these frameworks matter, you can extrapolate from them and apply those into your organization's needs. Workstream 3 is the AI security and risk governance. So if you're thinking from a GRC perspective, maybe you're in a regulated industry, maybe you have specific compliance needs that you need to demonstrate. Maybe you care a lot about explainability, traceability, auditability of your systems in your GenAI frameworks. This is kind of what they're solving for, right? So what if you had more of a checklist than, I don't know, no one's telling me what my checklists look like because it's still nascent and novel and those are still evolving. So this is trying to bring those together and create those opportunities, as well as how might you instrument and orchestrate the way to monitor and determine your compliance against these frameworks. And in 4, secured, this is relatively new. The first 3 work streams kind of launched shortly after CoSAI was announced last summer. So they kind of spun up in the mid to late fall. Workstream 4 is relatively new in the last 3-ish months, kicking off. And it really is to help with agentic AI, right? This is the theme of the conference probably have maybe went to some sessions, but as agentic AI really takes off and becomes the thing that transcends beyond the chatbots or the Gen AI democratization that we've seen, we really want to think about the complexity that those cause. We want to think about excessive agency. We want to think about what is the protocol and the data flow path for the way that agents should operate, multimodal, multi-agent. We need to make sure that from an end-to-end perspective that we're able to work in a optimized kind of way in something that's easy to measure and operate and secure. So that is an outline of what the work streams are right now. I do see those evolving over time, and as a work stream produces things, it may spin down, new work streams may spin up. Like I said, work stream 4 kind of has evolved and emerged, and we'll see that continue through the life of CoSAI. But if you take anything away from this talk, it's please, I want everybody here to see what CoSAI is producing once kind of some of these things are starting to become draft and final draft and launch in terms of artifacts being produced by these work streams. Consume those, see how your organizations might be able to adopt those. But if you feel compelled, and I hope you do, you, think about how you can contribute to these. We really need to think beyond someone or just the tech industry or the model providers dictating these. We at AWS work backwards from our customers, right? Ultimately, we need your voice. And I think, speaking on behalf of CoSAI as well, I think they need the voice of the customer as well, right? So think about how you can contribute. So whether it's one of those 4 work streams, you can join those. You can do it kind of in a racy kind of mode, if you will, where either maybe you're just monitoring and you kind of want to just observe from an informed perspective. It's open to do so. You can monitor the email list, Slack channels, et cetera. Or if you want to contribute, you can do that as well. There's you do sign kind of an agreement of, hey, if I contribute, this is what it means, but it's very simple to get in. And there's different levels of contribution. I won't kind of get into that, but obviously it's a sponsored model for contributions. But you can submit the code. We do really want open feedback from just about anybody, though. And then, like I said, leverage that guidance. So when it is put out to the world, it's put out freely to everybody, right? And it will evolve as this world continues to change around us. I will see these will have a living, breathing lifespan to them. So it isn't like a one and done, publish, good luck, you're on your own. It will continue to evolve as we learn more about emerging threats, emerging capabilities, and answers to the hard questions that everybody's trying to solve for. So here's my QR code slide. This is the slide that I'll leave it up here a little bit. These are a variety of open projects that AWS is contributing to as it relates to kind of this space. And each has this kind of own scope in what they are trying to achieve. I'm assuming a lot of people now, again, have seen the OWASP project and probably for years and years, but the LLM, top 10 for LLMs, for example, they're doing a lot on agentic AI as well now. CoSAI, which we talked about, Frontier Model Forum, is comprised of several of the leading tech and model providers in the industry, working backwards to say, hey, these are what we're going to do from a responsible AI perspective, and building those ground rules and ground truths. And then open communities like the emerging agentic community, which is trying to solve like what does agentic AI look like from a security perspective. So again, I would encourage everybody to be a member. It takes a village, right? This is something that we all get better when we all contribute. Even if the feedback is, I expect more, I need more, I'm blocked on this, those are probably usually the most impactful pieces of feedback because that is what we should be prioritizing. Outside of CoSAI in these projects, that's what I would also encourage you to do if you have an account team at AWS. We want to hear what it is that you need us to do for you to enable you, AI or otherwise. So just to quickly summarize, security is our top priority. It's in our DNA. It will never be second place. It'll always be first. So we will continue to maintain and raise that high bar on your behalf. As I mentioned, it takes a village. We can't just solve in a black box our way, and that be different than the way that somebody else is going to solve. So we want to be a part of that village. We want you to join us in that village. Everyone is welcome. And yeah, you are part of the village. So can't wait to see you there. I really appreciate you coming by. It's a lightning talk. It's really fast. Thank you. I hope that was beneficial. Thank you. Appreciate it. Final note, if my session or any session you go to, we really do value the CSAT surveys. It really matters to us. So if you could please take a moment today or before you leave to fill out the CSAT, it helps us get better so that the next time you come to one of our conferences, we can deliver a higher bar every time. Thank you.